Hello, welcome back. I've taken the summer off just to kind of enjoy the weather and take a break from gaming. Um, sometimes, sometimes you just need to take a break and step back and do some other things, and then you get this urge to start playing games again. Usually occurs for me whenever I start reading about something, and it's like, I have a game on that. Let's check that out. Well, anyway, I missed the latest anniversary of the Battle of Antietam, so I'm going to try and make that up by playing this Command Issue 22, 1993 edition of Antietam, Burnished Rose of Steel. It's produced by XTR Magazine, designed by Ty Bomba, and it looks to me like art and graphics director was Larry Hoffman, and associate editor was Chris Perella. And I don't see much in the way of playtesters, but anyway, this game, like I said, was made in 1992, so it's a little old, but nevertheless, this will be my first look at the game. And this is just the actual magazine itself. Like the maps. Maps pretty cool. They're fairly detailed. Orders of battle, that type of thing. And then, of course, we have the battle maps themselves, which show the movement of the troops and whatnot. So, the actual rules come in this nice black and white format. There's the rules of the game, plus there's some other game-related articles and stuff, such as errata for other games, blah, blah, blah. The rule book is printed on glossy paper. Let's see. It gives you the on a unit. I know you can't see this, so let's see if we can zoom in just a hair without losing too much focus. Oops. Move the tripod up here. See if that gives you any sort of idea of what I'm going to be talking about. This is the information found on the unit counters. The counters are about 5/8 inch, I guess. They're printed on a glossy, they're cardboard with a glossy finish. This unit is your typical infantry combat unit. Upper left-hand corner is the morale value. I think it ranges from -3 to +2. To the middle left is your strength steps. We'll talk a little bit more about them. Lower left is combat value. Well, I'll figure this out pretty soon. Unit type, of course, is infantry. The unit ID is just how shall I put it? It's just to identify each unit in the game on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of a system. It doesn't really have anything to do with the actual unit's identification, so to speak. Then we have the corps or division indicator. That's first corps. And then in the lower right, we have movement allowance. So that's kind of how that works for the counters. And down here, if I can avoid some of the glare, we have the actual unit types. There's Confederate infantry, Union infantry, and then there's artillery. In addition, there are not any cavalry units per se in the game. Confederates have some, but they're basically like dragoons, so they're dismounted. And there's no special rules for any kind of cavalry. It's pretty much all infantry and artillery. Like I say, the rules are in black and white. There are, I guess I better tilt the camera up. And yes, this will be done in an informal, unprofessional, just as if you were sitting here at the table with me, and that type of thing. There will be lots of uhs, there will be lots of ands, there will be lots of stuttering, lots of mispronounced and misspelled words. whatever. The sequence of play. This is kind of the abbreviated sequence of play. We'll have the Union player turn, then we'll have the Union movement phase, in which they will roll for core availability. They'll conduct any core withdrawal. They'll commit a new core. Then they'll move any and all units of a committed or available core. Then we have the Union artillery fire phase for each eligible artillery unit individually. That would be artillery firing individually. When all fire is done, we'll remove any moved markers from friendly artillery units. Artillery cannot move and fire. I don't know if you can see any of the sequence of play. Probably not in detail. Such is the case with HD. Let's see. Anyway, then we have the Union combat phase, which is composed of 2 rounds, 1 and 2. And there's certain rules, obviously, for each round. Then we have the Confederate player turn. Confederate movement phase may move any and all units. They are not restricted, of course, to any kind of division or corps restrictions. Let's see. Then you have a artillery fire phase, pretty much the same. Then you have combat phase, which is composed of 2 rounds. Then we advance the turn marker for the end of the game after turn 11. Each match of Antietam consists of 11 game turns representing 1-hour periods between 6 a.m. and 5 p.m. Play stops and the victor is determined at the end of game 11. Let's see. Of course, as in many games, or any game, either player is free to concede defeat at any time if he feels his situation has become hopeless. There are zones of control. I know you're not going to be able to see this, so I apologize for that. Zoom out a little bit. We'll lose clarity, but anyway. Zones of control. I still have to go back. We'll just do a handheld thing. Let's see. I don't put this. Who exerts them? All units in the game have a ZOC, the 6 surrounding hexes. Basically, units have to pay 1 extra movement point to enter an enemy zone of control in which they have to stop. They may leave an enemy zone of control by paying another additional 1 point plus terrain. However, they may not leave a zone of control and then immediately enter another zone of control of an enemy unit. So you can leave a zone of control, like I said, you can't move zone of control of enemy units. Artillery units moving alone or moving with the friendly infantry units may never enter an enemy zone of control. Okay, now we have stacking. This camera is a wonderful product of webcams. Okay, stacking. No more than 1 unit in a hex, in addition to 1 artillery unit. So you can have 1 Confederate infantry unit and an artillery unit in a hex. Let's see. Artillery may not enter an enemy zone of control unless accompanied by a leader, there are no leaders, unless accompanied by a friendly infantry unit. Union Corps may not stack together, which basically would be artillery from a different corps. Let's see. Movement's pretty conventional. All units have a movement factor on the right, lower right. You can always move one space as long as it's not into a prohibited or across a prohibited hex side. You may never enter hexes containing enemy units. Sorry. Do as a stack. Everybody's got to begin the game in the same hex. You can split stacks. Oh, no, this is pretty rough. I'm sorry. Let's see. I keep from knocking my camera off of the table. And it just gives you a rundown of the different movement points and stuff for different types of terrain and stuff. Special rules for the Dunker Church, Antietam Creek, cornfield, that type of thing. Roads give a bonus if you stay on the road. Units are allowed to mix road and non-road. So anyway, you gain some extra movement points if you stay on a primary, and a couple extra points if you stay on a secondary. And then we have rules for sunken road. We have double time. You got to stay away from enemy units. You add some more movement points to the unit. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, artillery units. No artillery unit may both move and fire during the same player turn. And then we have Union Corps commitment, in which we'll get to that when we need to. Reinforcements. Basically, AP Hill will come in towards the end of the game. And there are certain rules for that. He has to roll, so it's kind of a random entry. Union reinforcements, they'll get the, let's see, 6th Corps will come on at a specific time, game turn 6. And they'll come in, I'm not sure what, how they'll come in as committed or available or whatever. Artillery fire, pretty much just, oh, sorry, my camera froze up. Artillery fire is pretty much just adding up the strengths, adding a bunch of modifiers, and throwing some dice. Line of sight, pretty simple. Units do not flop line of sight in this game. What else do we got? We have combat, which occurs within zones of control, except of course for artillery. As an attacker moves up, artillery can fire, is given one free shot at any adjacent enemy unit. Units take step losses or strength point losses. I'll kind of show you how that works here in a minute. You total up a differential or an odds based upon how many strength points are attacking. If you have anything less than 2 to 1, it's a differential. If you have a 2 to 1 or greater odds on an enemy unit, you'll use a 2 to 1 column, but everything else is a differential column. And there's adjustments for morale and stuff like that. Let's see. There's also a shot to ribbons rule. Any infantry unit which has been reduced to 1 step strength is said to be shot to ribbons. They can attack, and so forth and so on. Once a unit takes a step loss, they may recover. Not sure why my thing just got dark. Maybe it's trying to, oh yes, it's trying to tell me that it's going to shut off. What was I saying? Once a unit loses at least 1 strength point during the regroup phase, units can replace eliminated step losses, but they can never replace all of them. They'll always be down 1 step loss. Okay, then we go on to some other stuff. The Confederates always get a +1 in combat due to their elan and superior coordination. Step losses. Go ahead and explain step losses here, using an example here that I seem to have totally hosed up here. Let me try to move the camera around without getting you seasick or whatever. Tripod legs out. There we go. Oh, sorry. Cheap tripods. Let's see here. Okay, this is, gee, I don't know. Not Wallace. What's her name here? Oh, I don't know. Confederates. W.A.W. Walker. That's it. This is part of Walker's brigade. Use just a brief example here. Yes, only 1 unit can be in a hex, but this is a case where I'm just going to show you what happens during step losses. So let's say there's a combat here between this Walker unit and another Union unit. Basically, If this unit takes a step loss, you will flip it over. All three of these units will not be in the same hex at one time. There'll only be one unit. And I'm just going to show you how this works. So if he takes a step loss, he'll go from a 5 down to a 4. In addition, he loses part of his movement rate. It was a 9, now it's down to an 8, and his strength is a 4. Let's say he takes another hit. This part is removed, the counter is removed. Now what we have here is a 45 with an asterisk. That just lets you know that this is a reduced, that this unit is reduced 45. The 45 unit is reduced, and this belongs to it, however you want me to say it. So its movement rate drops again, as does its strength. So it takes another step loss. Bloody heck. Let's see here. Come on, come on, come on. This game doesn't really need tweezers. Okay, we reduce it to this thing. This side. Yeah, this thing. Movement allowance drops as well as a strength point. So it takes another step loss, and on and on. Now it's down to 1 strength point, 5 movement points, and even its morale seems to change. So yes, the morale seems to change. Now let's say it takes one more step loss, and it is eliminated. So that's kind of how step reduction works in combat. And there's various other ways that you can lose a step. Units retreating through, friendly units, so on and so forth. There's various other things. There's units that, concentric attacks type of thing. There's regrouping, like I said. You have to be a certain number of hexes away, and then from an enemy unit, and then you can flip some units, add some strength points back. But artillery and completely eliminated units may never regroup, and no unit may regroup to its full original strength. Okay, then we have the Union commitment rules, which I'm still not 100% familiar with those, but I'm pretty sure I can wing it. And then that's pretty much it. There are some rules for solitaire play, but I will not be using those. And let's see, I have an expanded sequence of play. Where are victory conditions? You need to know how to win. Let's see. The Union player is attempting to score victory points, while the Confederate player works to deny them to him. At the end of the last game turn 11, the number of Union victory points scored determines the winner and the level of his victory. You have certain victory objectives. The Union player receives the following numbers of victory points for controlling the listed objectives at the end of the game. For objectives consisting of more than one hex, for example, Miller's Cornfield, which is around hex 1911, he receives the partial award if he controls some, but not all of the hexes, and the full award if he controls all hexes, and stuff like that. Control Union player gains control of a hex at the end of a game turn if the hex is either occupied by one or more of his units or it's not occupied by a Confederate unit, but is adjacent to a Union unit. Anyway, some of the victory objectives are Nicodemus Hill, Miller Cornfield, the West Woods, the North Wood, the East Wood, Dunker Church, the Sunken Road, a couple of other hexes, which I don't know what's in them. Any one Sharpsburg hex, any one road between 1032 and 1330, and the Lower Bridge. Eliminated units. Eliminated units, those which lose their last step of both sides, count for victory points. Every eliminated Confederate unit yields 1 plus 1 victory point to the Union, and every eliminated Union unit costs the player -1 to 2 victory points. Partially eliminated units do not count in any way. And I don't know if I said it, but eliminated units cannot be regrouped. So then we have various levels of victory, which I'm not going to go over right now. And that's pretty much what we need to know at the moment, except for Union Corps commitment. One other thing back here, on game turn 1, skip the unavailability roll in the withdrawal phases. The first core is automatically committed, fifth core is unavailable, and all other core are available. The Union player can commit either 12th or ninth core in addition to the first core. And we'll talk about committed, unavailable, and available. They're pretty much what they say they are. Anyway, that's about it. I'm going to stop here and let you absorb some of this information, or uh, unsubscribe if you just can't stand this anymore. But anyway, when I return, we will start playing, and I will give a little bit more detail about how some things work and stuff. So until then, take care, and we'll see you later.